Today I want to talk about the possibility of a black and white, not just a remake, but like a proper sequel, right? Black 3, White 3. I guess let's go down memory lane, okay? For 2 years, there were some serious rumors that were meant to be believed that of the idea of us getting a black and white remake. Speculation obviously ensues, and the biggest difficulty of remaking black and white is, how do you do it but incorporate the black 2 and white 2 story, which are kind of integral and kind of function as like DLC. It's like, or as a third version, it's a true sequel. It's like you played this, now replay it, but it's completely different, and it's a different story, and it's a sequel. And so the idea of a black 3, white 3 version appears from this, which there's so many things, and I would like to talk about what I would like to see in a black 3 and white 3 in this video, just in a little bit. But the idea that a black 3, white 3, the idea that a Generation 5 game could be upon us is not really... I want to be careful about my words. It's not crazy. It's a possibility. I'm not saying we're going to get it this year, but I do think it could be. I think it could be in the pipeline, right? The Terra Leak revealed, the Game Freak Terra Leak revealed a couple years ago, Game Freak's at the time roadmap for what their games are going to be, right? This would be Game Freak titles, but within what is in this, what this doesn't account for is anything third party. Right? Anything like Ilka, anything like literally a third party producing a Pokemon game. And within that could be black 3 and white 3, or, a black and white remake. It's difficult because it's like, what do you want to call it? The other obvious thing is that people expected a black and white remake after, the Gen 4 remake, but we ended up getting a Generation 6 sequel through a Legends game, not a black and white game. And I think there's something to consider here, which is that Game Freak is interested in making new stories with old characters, and that's where we get this birth of a Legends title, right? The Legends series is a way for Game Freak to retread familiar regions and characters and plot lines in Pokemon and expand on that, kind of like a black 3, white 3, right? Or kind of like a black 2, white 2, really. And I think what they're going to be doing is outsourcing any sort of remake to another company. So I do think there's a possibility that we end up with a black and white remake sooner than you think. And I also want to bring up that Game Freak, there are some interviews, or there's some, I guess I'm forgetting now if it's from the Terra Leak or if it's from a public interview, but there has been acknowledgement by Game Freak staff that BDSP, while it's sold well, they are aware of fan reception, that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl was not people's cup of tea. And that, again, while it sold well, fans didn't appreciate it because it didn't really add much. It added some new things, but it didn't really expand the story. It was just, the same thing. And again, BDSP does have, I think as time goes on, it does have some improvements to the base games, Diamond and Pearl, but like the Underground, for example, and the difficulty. But, it's not the best game. It's really not the best game. And I don't think it's a replacement for the originals. So, what I'm saying, also tied to BDSP, is that I think there is a possibility that this third-party game, just like BDSP, could be slipped in to a pretty condensed release schedule, right? Because this would not be a Game Freak title. We essentially, what I'm talking about is you get a November release. Let's pretend it could come out this year, right? We get Legends ZA, which we know was supposed to come out the year prior. So Legends ZA comes out in October or September. I think October. Did it come out in September? No, it came out in October. The DLC was then crammed 2 months later in December. And what I'm saying is a black and white remake could come out in the first half of this year, 2026, far enough away from a new game, Generation 10, in November. Because this is what we saw during the lead up to Generation 9, where BDSP, that third-party Pokemon remake, that came out in November, and then 2 months later in January, we got Legends Arceus which is a completely new game. And then, what would it be? 8, 9, 10 months later, in November, we got Scarlet and Violet. So what I'm saying is I do think there's a possibility on Pokemon Day that there could be a pretty big upset, a surprise for some sort of third-party game to be dropped. Personally, I'm hoping this will be a port collection, but I'm also pretty interested in the idea of this potentially being a HD, 3D remake of one of these classic games, like Black and White. I think that would be pretty cool. But what would I like to see in a Black and White game? I think the initial problem is that in Black and White, you start out here in the southeast of the region. You work your way up. You go up to the central part of the region. You go around the merry-go-round. You go to the Elite Four, and then you can explore the rest of the eastern part of the region. And in Black 2 and White 2, you play as a different character a couple years later, same region, and you start in the southwest part of the region in a brand new location that was not even in the base games, right? You work your way through there, then you make it to the main place, and then you start going up, and then you go up to the left, like to the I guess it'd be like the northwest. Then you take a plane and you're randomly on the other side of the region. You explore over there, and there's brand new gym leaders. There's brand new Pokemon. That's another thing. There's a bunch of brand new Pokemon, and there's brand new characters, and that's a lot of fun. And I think this is kind of set a precedence. And so what I would like to see in a Black and White remake is essentially like, I think what you'd have to do if there's two ways to think about this. If they're not going to introduce a bunch of new locations, I think what they could do is we start out the game in, like, it's Black and White essentially, and you're playing that game, but then they do something where it's like, oh, guess what, actually? Where there's a plane that you can't fly in Black and White, but you can jump on in Black 2 and White 2, which opens up the whole region. What I'm saying is you're playing through the game of Black and White. It's very familiar, but then they incorporate all of these elements, these locations and Pokemon that are available in Black 2 and White 2, make those available in this game. And so now you essentially have created a brand new experience that is removed and unique enough from the original Black and White. And what this does, this is BDSP's problem. What I'm suggesting right here would maintain the value and the identity of Black and White, of Black 2 and White 2, and this new remake. All three experiences would be completely different and have their own merit, have their own value, and have their own, there'd be a reason to play Black and White still. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I would want to see. If we're talking about a Black 3, White 3, where it's, same region, same characters, 3 years later, again, maybe there's a new plot, but it's like a wrap-up of the story. We see the original dragon, right, for example. We meet N again, right? We battle, in post-game. It's like you just make a brand new game, but it's the same region. I think what you do is we start out this game, again, in a brand new location that we've never seen before. And what would that be? That would be in the north, either the northwest, either the northwest where all these trees are, and then you basically jump over here and you can play around here, and then you eventually make your way to Castelia, where you can go over here, and you can go over here, and you can go, like, the order of the region completely shifts, and that would be amazing. I think you could also expand all these little gaps in, like, you could fill in these little gaps like Black 2 and White 2 did. Like, they created this playable area, the volcano, like the savannah, kind of like that location. Like, they added that. All the water routes, the marine tube, that was all added in Black 2 and White 2. They could add some new locations as well. And the other option is that they actually make the starting town in the Northeast, which to me, if this is New York City, what is the Northeast? It's New England. That's where I live. That's Boston. That's New Hampshire. That's Maine, Connecticut, Vermont, Rhode Island. That's what I would want to see. and you get a little glimpse of what kind of would be a new region, essentially. That would be really cool, I think. And you could also do something where you give us a brand new set of starters. And also, there's some new evolutionary methods a couple years later. You go back, you visit all these Unova Pokemon, who now will get new evolutions that, weren't available in the original game, right? Pokemon like Ferrothorn is great. You could give it an evolution, right? Pokemon like Behem is great. You could give it an evolution. Lampent is awesome. What if it has a Dawnstone evolution, right? It's no longer Chandelure, but something different. Something like, Vanillish. What if it actually evolves differently from Vanillux, right? Gaining a new type, potentially. Like, such a cool, I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun things you could do with a Black 3, White 3. Or just again, this could just be a remake. And never mind brand new evolutions, because that would be, I think, reserved for a Black 3, White 3. But just a Generation 5 remake. Again, in the way I said it, where it's just like kind of a new experience, but it's like the same game. That could still be very good. Because what they could also do is bring in any Pokemon that you can get in Unova that since Generation 5 has received... Yeah, we've had the introduction of regional forms, convergent Pokemon. We've had the introduction of new cross-gen evolutions like Farigiraf, like Annihilate, these, Dudunsparce. Those are all Pokemon that you can get in Unova. And they could all be brought into this game, making the experience that much richer. I think there's a possibility of us getting a Generation 5 game at some point in the near future. And I was thinking about it, and I just wanted to share that. Subscribe for more Pokemon opinions, rumors, speculation, mostly in theories. This is the second channel, by the way. If you like this, check out the main channel, Dusty Go-Gut. I'm putting out some heaters. This is just for me to think out loud. Subscribe if you're new. I love you. Let me know what you want me to talk about next.